Okay, last debate question is, background on that is the goals of transparency and openness are subjects that local governments will always be working to strike the right balance. State and federal laws dictate what information must be kept private and what information must be made public. Debate question 9. What are your thoughts on improving transparency and openness in the city of Hermosa Beach? For Trent.
Okay, well, improving the transparency is going to require that the council and the city management get along better and that they have a more open dialogue between each other so that issues can be discussed in a more free-form sort of way and we don't get caught up in a lot of the minutia and the back and forth. And this was going to allow us to bring the public in and to talk more open and to have more reasoned dialogue about how we debate the things moving forward. I also think that it's very important that the council set the agenda with the city manager in terms of what comes up in order and how it's discussed at city council meetings, so that the things that are the most important to the public and the things that the public are here to talk about get discussed first, not fifth, not seventh, not way down the line, but first, so that we can tackle the most important and the people want to talk about first. And I think this, if we do this, it'll go a long way to moving us forward. Because right now, we're kind of stuck. We're kind of bottled up. And I think this is causing a lot of this ill will about transparency. Because we live in the most transparent government in the world, the United States. I mean, people can find out what we're doing. People, it is printed, it is on the website. Maybe some of the stuff is talked, maybe some of the, in the city manager's office, but a lot of it is not the major guts of what's going on. So I think if we do a better job with cohesiveness on the council and getting to the issues, that will open up the transparency much more than it is now.
Thanks, Trent. Pete?
Thank you. The goals for transparency and openness in Hermosa have greatly improved over the last few years, as we know, with all the committees that we've mentioned earlier, that I've mentioned. And what has happened is the residents have become more involved and informed. The city can do more. Some improvements would be better information on council agendas, more detail, a timeline to track when items first come up, better noticing on the city e-newsletter, new releases on matters before coming to the council. We can set up a system like that there'll be new items, maybe make bullet points. Residents could sign up for an email to receive the council packet agendas. When we talk about other issues that are the public request items, as long as state and federal laws allow the release of these, we should have no problem releasing information. However, personnel items are not allowed to be released. There's the Policeman Bill of Rights and things like that, so there are certain things that we cannot release. But I think overall, you
can summarize, Pete?
Overall, it's great, and the should be transparent and open for the residents who demand the improvements. We as a council strive to, as we've said earlier, to take in everybody's thoughts and considerations and move forward. This is not about us, this is about the residents. Thank you.
Thanks, Pete. Justin?
Yeah, I subscribe to just about all of the suggestions that Pete made. I do think we need to elect a council that improves openness and transparency, and I'm going to give 4 examples of things that we need to do. One is improve our records management. The records management for this city following the March 3rd incident was abysmal. We're lucky we didn't get sued. And because we didn't know what records we had and get them to people that requested them, we're facing a claim that the city's going to have to pay for. So that failure is costing us real money. We need to get command of what records we have and how we provide them to people who ask for them. The next thing is what are called C-36 reviews of conditional use permits by the Planning Commission. For those C-36 reviews, the Planning Commission gets a list of violent crimes at our local establishments that have CUPs. But rather than getting the underlying reports, which will tell them the actual detail about what each of those incidents involved. The Planning Commission, and as a consequence, the public, gets a bare summary of what happened. So we have no idea how severe the incident was. There's no excuse for not attaching the underlying reports, redacted to protect the people involved, so that the Planning Commission, the public, and the City Council can all understand just exactly what's going on in our city. The next thing on my list is informal committees. As I understand it, the city manager has several informal committees, including an economic development committee, a land use planning committee. There may be others. They may change over time. If those exist, the members of those committees should be published on the city's website with contact information, and meeting dates should be published so people can participate in those meetings. And finally, council member town halls. I referenced this earlier. Councilman Fangari stepped up and started holding monthly town halls, which every city council member should do. And the most recent one he had was in this chamber. And apparently somebody on council took objection to that. And now on the city council's agenda is a discussion about a protocol for allowing a city council member to invite the public into council chambers to meet with them to hear their opinions on city subjects. It is inconceivable to me that somebody on the city council would have a problem with a city council member inviting the public into the city council chambers to express their views on what's going on in the city. To the extent there is an objection to that, that needs to be stopped, and we need to roll right over that so that this place is the people's chamber and people feel comfortable coming here to participate in what goes on in our city.
Thanks, Justin. Ken?
I believe you can be more transparent without meeting until 2 a.m. I think it's a disservice to residents and businesses and business applicants, anyone that has business in these chambers, to meet until 2 a.m. Agree adjusting the agenda so that the important items are first. If the council wants to stay till 2 a.m., I don't have a problem with that. But expecting people to stay here until 2 a.m. in the audience, they can't do it. They have to go to work the next day. I think that plays into a transparency issue. I also think that we could be more transparent utilizing better technology. Residents and staff need to be able to communicate as quickly as possible. Things like just applying for a business license. I applied for a business license the beginning of this year, and it took almost 4 months. And I followed the rules of the website, and I emailed the application in, and then I was contacted and said I had to fax it in because email was unacceptable. But that's what the website said to do. Anyway, I did get my license, but it took almost 4 months to do. We need to fix things like that and streamline things like that. If residents are following the directions, but that's not what staff needs, we need to be transparent about it so everybody's on the same playing field. I'm an IT person. That's what I do. That's my bread and butter. I would be happy to work with staff, and I know we outsource our IT, but to help them to get those kinds of items streamlined.
Great, Ken, thanks. Jeff?
Oh, thank you, Al. I don't know, my observation is that it seems like public comment in these council chambers is just a formality anymore. And it doesn't seem to matter whether it's public comment in the beginning of the meeting or in public hearings. I don't know where that breakdown is. In fact, when I look at this core revitalization plan, you know, I'm sure that council would tell you and staff would tell you that, you know, it has been completely heard in public. In other words, the public has been informed each step of the way. But I would venture to say probably no one has any idea of what's going on down there and how far this project has been developed without any input, truthfully, from the public. And I'm just wondering where we've gone wrong here. I mean, maybe a year ago, you know, I think it was a completely different picture. I mean, you think of sort of the community dialogue and the general plan working group. You know, we were doing something so well that we now do so poorly. And I think at the end of the day, you know, it's a staffing issue and it's a council issue. And it is, you know, and it troubles me when I'm sitting here and we see that things are sort of getting out of control with council in terms of control of the meetings. And their first solution that they put on the table is that let's limit public comment. That was brought up. You know, that was the first reaction that we're going to do. And so I think that the solution to this really is probably what most of us up here are sitting up here for, is that, you know, we need people up here who are willing to work together and will make that commit to work together, and who believe in working with the community and believe in communicating with folks and doing their job to the best of their ability to do that. And I think that's really, at the end of the day, what it's all about. Transparency really has to do with, you know, how people comport themselves in terms of their responsibility. And I think we can do a lot better.
Thanks, Jeff. Okay, that was the final debate question. We're going to closing statements.